It's time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show live on WBON TV and on radio at WEKY, WKXO, and WIRV. Support your favorite team with apparel from Campus Warehouse and join us here on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show. Also brought to you by Bishop Small Engine Repair and Nuevo Vallarta. And now let's go live to your hosts, Michael Watkins and Samantha Burford.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Jack Burford Chevrolet here on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show. We appreciate you. It is a mouthful. A lot of Jack Burford in there, but we are at Jack Burford Chevrolet. All the nice vehicles here, and the light. It's getting darker earlier, Samantha.
Yeah,
so
we had to bring lighting.
You may want to get out here a little bit earlier so you can see the vehicle and make sure that you've got what you want, and they got plenty to choose from. Some awesome vehicles over here at Jack Burford Chevrolet. I was just talking to John before we came on the air. They just had a vehicle bought from the state of Washington, and they're shipping it out later on this evening. Was getting it ready to get on the trailer, and it'll be heading out to Washington State here at some point tonight. So
yeah, the trailer was sitting there when I pulled in a few minutes ago, and I'll tell you what is cool. I'll give a little shout out. My new Tahoe that I'm driving around, test driving right now. When you open the door, you know, the little platform for you to step on comes out, and it has lights on it. So with it getting darker sooner, it's pretty cool. It's a new feature.
How do you feel about the time change? I've seen people complain about it all day. And
yeah, I don't like it.
Well, here's the thing. Saturday night, as I got ready to go to bed, I was sitting there, and I'm like, okay, it's 12 o'clock. It's time for me to go to bed. Some of my buddies that I was talking to online were like, you know, it's only technically 11 o'clock. So I was like, you know what? I got another hour. I mean, let's just keep going. So it's now I feel like I'm more tired, even though I'm getting the same amount of sleep for some reason. I don't know why that is, but
I went home yesterday visiting family. Was in Flemingburg all day. We left, and it was like it felt like we were leaving at 11, and we left at 7.
Yeah,
it was dark the whole ride home.
It's darker and it's colder.
Oh,
and it's starting to get really cold. Now, I do think that we looked ahead to the football weather for Friday night. It's going to be a little bit warmer than it was this past Friday, but still going to be a little bit more chilly than we're used to as far as the early part of the year.
Right.
But it's football weather. That's what we wanted. Now, here's the thing, too. We're going to get into it later on, but the COVID cases and everything. So we're hoping that we stay out of that red zone, but Madison County is a tick away. I mean, we are an extra case away from being in that red zone. So keep that in mind as well.
And here's the thing. We tell you guys every Monday, wear your mask, be safe.
Yeah.
Do your part. Wash your hands. My hands are raw where I wash them so much. And then sometimes I'm like, why do they feel gross?
Yeah.
And it's all the hand sanitizer. Like, you can't keep your rings and stuff just clean.
And you want to do your part. We want to make sure that if you're a football fan, listen, we want to watch football. We got to do our part to make sure the spread of this virus slows down a little bit.
And here's the other thing. If we make it to Friday's football game, it is such a big football game, as everyone is aware, and we're going to talk about it, between Madison Southern, Madison Central, the big cross-county rivalry. We hope everyone turns out. Like, of course, there's COVID concerns for number.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have as many people, as everyone knows. But if they are allowing it, go.
Yeah.
Go to the game.
Find a ticket somehow, because you need to get in there and watch a great game. It's going to be a great game. Now, Southern all year long has looked like the better team, but they're coming off a tough loss against Boyle County, where Madison Central played their best game of the year.
Offensively, they were lights out. It was like they finally were clicking. It was like their offense, whether it be the passing game, the running game, Cannon Centers, who had been the starting quarterback and had been injured and had been off again, on again, between him and Nate Story. Finally, it was clicking everywhere for them.
Well, it looked healthy. Cannon looked healthy. That was the big thing. And let's talk about Madison Central first before we preview the game. So Central, even though they lost 41-35, offensively by far was the best game of the year. Centers, who at times this season has struggled throwing the football, was 11 of 17, very efficient, 195 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He hits Jaden West 3 times for a combined 128 yards. All 4 of Jaden West's completions were 40 yards or more.
Yeah, and he's just a sophomore.
Yeah. They have a lot of talent in the lower levels, in that underclassmen category. Zach Holbrook, very good player in the slot receiver position for Central, had a good game, 4 catches, a season high for him, 30 yards receiving. Joseph Burton caught 1 for 17 yards. Lance Saw made a couple of catches for 16. Cameron McAlpin had 1 for 4. The offense was really working for the Indians. The running game was there as well. Adrian Parks had a big 66-yard touchdown run for a touchdown. He scores twice, 18 attempts for him, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Sinners scored his second rushing touchdown of the season. So a combined 3 touchdowns for Cannon Sinners, a great game for him. And again, the offense played its best game of the year against a Southwestern team which had only lost 1 game on the entire season. So they are a very good team. For Central to play the way they did, I was very impressed offensively. Defensively, again, it looked like they got kind of worn down as the game went along, but Southwestern can do that to you when you've got a 3-headed running backfield like they did. They had a 3-headed monster back there in the backfield. So they were very good at running the football. Central kind of got tired late in that game, and you could see it, but they still never gave up. They played their hearts out. These seniors played their hearts out, and Sinners looked healthy for the first time this year.
Yeah, which we're thankful for.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure all of the team is thankful for, that they finally had a go-to, someone that was in and that they could rely on, that they knew it wasn't going to go back and forth.
Yeah, and Nathan Story was injured, so they only had it was just it was Cannon's job. It was his game. No Story. And I think even I saw Lou Ann, Nathan's mom, put a big Facebook post up later that night. He has a hematoma and he is in some serious pain. I'm hoping that by today he was able to get over that. The last game on the home field, not even getting to play in that game. So we're hoping that Nate Story's going to be okay, and we'll see him out there. He's a big piece defensively, and I think that they kind of lost that with him having to go play quarterback. That's a big piece you lose in the secondary because he's a senior. He's seen pretty much everything out there. So with him having to go play quarterback, you lose some of that defensively, and that was kind of the case on Friday night with him not being out there defensively again. But, again, the offense looked like the best it had looked all year. If they play this way, the Friday night game will be really good against Southern, but I'm looking ahead to Bryan Station. I know Coach Sanders is probably saying let's focus on the task ahead and Madison Southern. That's going to be a big game, obviously. But if they can play the way that they did on Friday night, they can create some problems in the playoffs.
And that is going to be difficult for lots of parents, lots of fans, including myself, because when they just lost to Bryan Station the week before, they only got 9 yards.
9 yards, yeah. Now, keep in mind, it was a monsoon outside. It was pouring the rain, lightning delay, everything going on. So it was a weird game. And then Nate got hurt in that game as well. Yes. So keep all that in mind. It was a very, very weird ball game in the loss to Bryan Station a couple of weeks ago. But defensively, they did pick off the Bryan Station quarterback twice in that game.
Parks and Kinley.
Exactly. So they've got some – they did show that they can defend Bryan Station, but the offense is what wasn't there. Now, again, it's only one game. Where was this at all season? But if they can continue that momentum and keep that confidence they had against Southwestern, they can really do some things in the weeks ahead.
Well, and you want to give a shout-out to Sweat. He had the best tackles of the entire, I guess, the defensive team.
12 tackles for Sweat. Pruitt pitched in with 10. Parks and McLaughlin also had 8 apiece. They had 2 interceptions. They had Parks had another interception. Kinley again as well. You mentioned that. So the team – They're forcing turnovers. Yeah. They're getting the football back for their offense, and at least this past Friday, the offense did something with it. Now they turn their attention to Madison Southern, and the Eagles had a tough loss this past Friday against Boyle County, and Boyle County will do that to teams. They'll make other teams look bad.
The thought of just the thought of just saying Boyle County, it kind of gives you, like, the willies because you're like, you know what's coming.
Yeah. Boyle County on the season undefeated. They have put up a 51-7 win against Mercer County. They put up 56 against Christian Academy of Louisville. They had 2 shutouts, a 40-0 win over Lexington Catholic, a 54-0 win over Anderson County, and then they beat Southern 53-7. And they look like the team to beat in Class 4A under first-year head coach Justin Haddix. But going back to Madison Southern, couple of players out. There was no A.J. Jones, a rough game for the running attack. 24 carries, only 26 yards for Madison Southern. And when I talked to John Clark today about that, he was like, we couldn't get our running attack going. Cameron Holbrook scored a touchdown in the first quarter. That was it offensively for Madison Southern. So they got to find a way to get their running attack going, because the way that you beat Madison Central is by running the football. They do allow some medium passes, and Cole Carpenter has got some weapons that he can throw it to.
He can throw it.
But the way that you really hurt the Indians' defense is by running the ball kind of down their throat, and you keep going back to it. 24 carries for 26 yards won't get it done.
But I don't feel like Southern does that. I feel like they like to throw the ball.
They do, yeah.
But here's the other thing.
Well, when you got Jonah Farnstrom and Walter Smith, exactly. You got guys to throw it to.
But Coach Clark likes to do some special kind of weirded out tricks.
The playbook is wide open for Coach Clark, and I think that's what makes this team so dynamic. They've got some plays and some players that they can really do some trickery with, if you will. And
I remember asking him that one time. I think they had run like 4 trick plays just in the first half, and I think it was like last year or the year before. I asked him that. You have really gone in for the trick plays tonight, Coach. Like, he enjoys it, and they practice them. They're good at it.
Yeah.
And it kind of, you fall for it. The other team falls for it.
When you scout a team, if you feel like you know exactly what they're going to do, and then they throw a wrinkle into it, it can really mess with you. And Southern, I think one thing that Coach Clark told me in the interview was, we have always struggled trying to be confident going up against a Covington Catholic or a Boyle County or even against a Madison Central. We have always struggled in matchups like that where we know going in that they're a bigger school, they've got more players, they've got bigger players.
Yes.
And even if we're on the same level as them, or maybe even better in some cases, we are beat before we even get off the bus. So I asked him today in the interview, as a coach, what can you do to kind of counteract that? And he said, well, what I say is going to be wrong because I've been trying to fix that since I've been here, and I haven't been able to. So as we get ready for this matchup Friday night, Madison Central, Madison Southern, before we preview that game, let's hear from John Clark, the head coach of the Madison Southern Eagles.
John Clark and the Eagles on the road this past Friday, taking on one of the top teams in the state in Boyle County. And Coach, just talk about your team and how they played on the road in a tough matchup.
Well, we played a really good opponent, and we were outmatched all over the field. So I think hopefully we learned quite a bit about just the intensity at which that team plays is something that we just continue to strive to get to. It felt reminiscent of playing Cov Cats and some of the better teams we face. So, it's not new, but we're just trying to get our kids to emulate that intensity one of these days. That was a good football team.
Well, you and I talked last week. You said that one thing that you were really wanting to work on was the mindset of your team. When you face a team like a Boyle County or a Cov Cath or one of those bigger teams that, a Frederick Douglass, if you will, what is it as a coach that what can you do to try to get that mindset right for your team?
It's a great question. And, obviously I whatever my answer is won't be right because it's probably what we've struggled with the most since I've been at Southern. I feel like we're beat before we ever show up. I don't know the answer to that. I think you continue to play them, and you have to just get your kids around it and realize, these kids are the same kids you are, and you have access to the same resources they do football-wise. I just think it's a mindset and a mentality of, coming through middle school and all through high school that kind of leads to that, not just, a 1 week preparation. It's a mindset that's trained from little up, if that makes sense.
Well, another one of those teams that has been, on the schedule for you guys over the last couple of years is Madison Central. Big matchup this Friday. How have you been preparing your team and trying to get them to focus on the games ahead other than trying to focus on this game coming up Friday night?
We haven't even talked about it. So, everything this year for us has been the game that's in front of us because we don't even know if we're going to have a game again. And especially after last Friday, I told him, I said, we'll be lucky to play again. A lot of counties are in the red and rising. And as COVID cases go up, I think we just, our kids are doing a really good job of playing week to week. So we've not even discussed it, to be honest.
Let's preview this matchup. It's always an exciting game. The fans love it. But as a coach, I mean, does it matter to you? I mean, this is always a good rivalry game, but now with it being the last game of the year, and I know in recent years it's been the last game of the year, it's been moved up in the schedule. How do you feel about playing this game as the last game of the regular season?
I actually love it as the last game. I think, but I grew up in a community that our rivalry was always our last game before the playoffs. I'm a fan of playing an intense game going into playoffs. I think it carries over week to week. So I've never been one to try to pad the last game of the season. So I love that this game is this week.
What are you going to focus on? You know, you've seen Madison Central play. What are you going to focus on your team to get them ready for Friday night?
I'll tell you what, man, they're the best one-win team I think I've ever seen. You know, everything's not as what people think with Central right now. They are a talented team. They've got playmakers on the field, and they showed that this past Friday night. Their defense plays extremely hard. I think their D-line is as good as we have seen. They're right up there with Boyle's D-line. So this is we've got our hands full Friday. You know, we've got to stop the run, and we've got to be able to establish the run, which we were not able to do last week.
Since this is the last game of the year, how confident are you and your team right now as you look ahead to the game against Central Friday?
When we're at full strength, I like my team. When we're plugging holes for missing guys, we struggle. So I think it really depends on if we're at full strength on Friday night or not. I do like the team that we're fielding right now. You know, it's a matter of, are we going to have everybody? And it's been like that all season. When we're healthy and 100%, everybody's there, I think we can play with anybody we're going to see moving forward. If not, we're going to struggle in some of those spots.
Do you have an idea, as far as your playoff matchups go, have you guys, do you have some of your assistants looking ahead to that, or are you just focusing everything on Central right now?
I'm week to week. Now, I know that the rest of our district's not done yet. Woodford's got to play some people, but they didn't play East last week because of COVID. But they were going to play them the week before, and COVID didn't matter. I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's like the Wild West of who plays what games. Will Woodford play West this week? My guess is probably no if they're in the red, which means if that happens, I believe that we would have West at home. But again, I've not spent a lot of time looking at it.
Well, as a coach, I mean, you see the numbers rising. You see all these counties. I mean, we're basically all red almost. It looks like half the state is red. There were 40 games canceled this past Friday. So as a coach, how hard is it to get your guys to focus on the task of hand and not worry about the off-the-field stuff?
You know, we just we don't talk about it a ton. You know, I think you get what you focus on, and we focus on the things we can control. And, you know, we've talked to them a lot about we can't slack off on our procedures of what we're doing to keep each other healthy, and just reminding them, I mean, you don't know what a kid's doing when they're not with you. And we tell them just try to think about the team and try to think about the bigger picture here and who you're around. But I think it's hard to do that when I think a lot of people have just kind of let a lot of their precautionary procedures go. I don't just mean our players. I mean, everybody, you know, as a country, I think that's happened quite a bit. So, just a matter of if we can play, we're going to play. And if we can't, it is what it is. And you need to approach each game like it could be your last, because it really could be.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. Good luck Friday night. We'll be there with you guys covering the game, and look forward to seeing the Eagles one more time before you head into the playoffs.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate him taking the time out of his day to talk to us about that game. And then,
don't you love interviewing him?
I do. I like talking to all the coaches
I do
because
too.
I like talking sports.
That's probably why we like this
and
job. But
you know, at home I don't get to talk sports as much. At the office, it's
It's
everything else going on. So we do want to say a special thank you to Jennifer Lay Photography. Does an amazing job taking pictures of Madison Southern, and all the photos that were playing during that interview there were courtesy of Jennifer Lay Photography. So appreciate her. Last year, I talked to Coach Clark about the game being the last game of the year, and I like that too. I feel like if you have a bye week, or if you have maybe an easy game that last game of the year, you can kind of let your guard down before you head into the playoffs. And when you
kind
play,
of what UK did with Missouri.
Yeah. When you play this game and you have this big of a matchup, and you have to get up for it, you have to keep yourself hyped about it, it can be a really big deal. And I think with you playing Central Southern, both teams will be fired up, both teams will be focused, ready to go, and then you get a really tough matchup before you head into the playoffs next week. And, you know, these two teams. I think
that's what you want, too.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want a gimme game.
No.
Now, granted, you don't want to get people injured. That's the opposite. Because he's worried about health anyway.
But even if you play an easy team, it could be a game that you
still get injured.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think these coaches, their jobs are to prepare them.
Yeah.
If you just give them a gimme, they're not going to be ready for that matchup. Because as Don always says in our coaches' interviews and when he's talking, it's all about district play and it's all about the regional play. And
well, these two teams going opposite directions right now. Central, even though they played well Friday night, they've still only got one win on the season. Southern is now 3-3, and they got a tough test against each other this Friday night. Now, looking back at this game last year, it was a big win for Southern, 34-25 on Central's home field. Cannon Centers for Central was 8 of 21, threw an interception, 95 yards passing. Joseph Burton, who's now more of a wide receiver, was the main running back in that game last year. He had 17 carries for 88 yards. Adrian Parks, who's more of a starter now for the Indians, had 12 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. John Lansall and Zach Holbrook had 4 combined catches in that game. And Braden Pruitt and Travion Parks led the team in tackles in this matchup last year for Madison Central, again in the loss 34-25. For Southern, this game last year was the Walter Smith coming out party. Smith threw a touchdown. He had 2 touchdowns receiving. Yeah. He had an interception in the game as well. He kicked 4 or 5 extra points. I mean, he had an unbelievable game, and the interception was a big one because later on, I think he ended up throwing the touchdown. So he threw a touchdown pass, was 1 of 1 for 32 yards. He also, again, had 2 receptions for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns plus the pick. So it was the Walter Smith coming out party. And I think what the Eagles like to do, they're going to have to, again, run the football to beat Madison Central. You can throw it all over the field, but I think Central secondary is adept. Like they have the weapons and they have the playmakers in their own secondary to match up with Madison Southern. It'll be in the trenches where this game is won, and that's something that you hear a lot from coaches is you got to win up front. And with the very good defensive line that Madison Central has and the good offensive line, if healthy, that Southern has, this could be a very, very fun game to watch on Friday night.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the momentum is definitely going in Central's favor.
Yeah.
But here's what I always remember in these games. Coach Centers, as we know, he's very
even keel. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Even keel. He just keeps it right there, and I think he does that with his players too. It's never like this. I remember many games, Coach Clark after the games telling us, you know what, I got them too hyped.
Yeah.
They were up here the whole time, and they wore themselves out. Like they just couldn't stay. I don't want to say focused because obviously they're focused, but they couldn't keep it even keel.
Couldn't bring it. You know, if you're too high, sometimes maybe you can you overthrow a pass or you underrun a target. Something like that can happen. So
and it's mental.
Yeah.
It's
it is.
Always
you want to be hyped up because you know how big this game is. And for Central, with the year that you've had, you know that if you win this game, if you beat your in-county rival, then it can, first of all, it can kind of salvage the season a little bit. It can take off some of the pain and some of those losses that you have. And again, it can give you some momentum heading into the playoffs. So this is going to be a very fun game. I think both teams will have their full available players out there. I don't think anybody will sit anybody because we're close to the playoffs. I think it'll be a game that both teams try to win, and it will be very, very fun as we head into the matchup on Friday night. We will be there. Samantha, you'll be there, right?
Yes.
Okay. I know you like sometimes you take some nights off, and I just don't hear from you.
I did take. Oh, that is not true. But I did take this past Friday night off. I went to Top Golf.
You did,
you
and
would love that.
You got kicked out, right, for being too good at golf, right?
I didn't get kicked out.
Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us, folks, here on a Monday night at Jack Burford Chevrolet. Don't forget, visit jackburford.com to see all the great deals, all the great vehicles on the lot here at Jack Burford Chevrolet. We are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, Samantha, we've been talking about this year's Madison Central and Southern teams. Let's look ahead to the future years. We had some exciting middle school football last week. We had Berea Foley, and we got Cottle and Clark Morris from last week. So let's talk about those games and look ahead to some future Madison Southern Eagles and Madison Central Indians when we come back on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show.
Still lots of room, just more to view. Still the big move, just more moving. Still singing, just more in tune. Still hard to find a spot, just easier to park. Still the gang's all here, just less are we there yet. The Chevy family of SUVs, making life's journey just better.
I'm Michelle. And I'm Jennifer. And in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Kokudet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best margaritas and fajitas in town. Doesn't a huge 32-ounce ice-cold beer sound great? Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Patrick O'Neill has been serving Central and Eastern Kentucky since 1995. When someone is accused of something they didn't do, or when a good person makes a mistake, they need the best representation they can find. And that's Patrick O'Neill. Whether it's criminal defense, Social Security, disability, personal injury, workers' compensation, or deeds and wills. When you need legal advice, trust the expertise of Patrick O'Neill. He will get you the money you deserve. His office is located in Jackson, but Patrick practices all over Central and Eastern Kentucky. For more information or for a free consultation, call 606-666-2990.
Campus Warehouse is fresh out of quarantine and has everything you need to get back in the game. Now more than ever, it's important to show support for your favorite team. And Campus Warehouse has stylish Eastern Kentucky merchandise or something for the Kentucky fan in your life. As we continue to fight the coronavirus pandemic, Campus Warehouse also has the clothes you need to show you're a part of Team Kentucky. Like them on Facebook or stop in and see for yourself at Campus Warehouse, 2139 Lantern Ridge Drive, next to Buffalo Wild Wings in Richmond.
We're back here on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show. Samantha, again, if you are looking for a great vehicle, they've got great ones here at Jack Burford Chevrolet. Also, want to give a special shout-out to Campus Warehouse. If you're an EKU fan or a Kentucky fan, they've got all kinds of cool apparel for you at Campus Warehouse in Richmond, over there at the Richmond Center. If you got, it's cold now. They got EKU hoodies. They have officially licensed SEC and EKU apparel. So get on over to Campus Warehouse in Richmond and get the UK or EKU fan in your life something special at Campus Warehouse. And you did. You got some cool fall apparel as well. They got some cool like fall clothes. Yes. You got I think maroon shirt with the state of Kentucky on it. So
yes. Love it. Love it, love it.
Well, last week we were over at Berea on Tuesday night for the Berea Foley Middle School game. It was 8th grade night over at Berea and was a very cool night to be over there and see a couple of really good young football teams.
Future stars.
A couple of guys for both teams making some big impacts, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these younger guys playing up next year as freshmen on the Berea Pirates High School team. Again, when you're at Berea, your player pool is a little bit smaller because of the number of students there, but Ethan Sloan and the quarterback that they had, Houston, and they got Banderman. They've got some really good young players over there at Berea. Ethan Sloan, my goodness, as a wide receiver, he's the coach's son, and normally those players are a little bit, above everybody else because if you're a coach,
they practice all the time.
Exactly. That's all they think about is the game of football or the game of basketball. And Ethan Sloan had, I think, 11 catches, had a great game. He had a couple of touchdown catches for Berea. He was a playmaker for the Pirates. And on the other side, for Foley, you had the Paxton Hammonds kid who had a couple of two-point conversions, had a 66-yard interception return for touchdown. He was our player of the game, playing fullback, and then on the D-line, he had a couple of really big plays defensively. And Foley had a couple of good running backs as well. So you look at this matchup Tuesday, and if you're a fan of Berea or Foley, the future is bright with these guys coming up through the ranks and those programs with a lot of really good young talent coming up. The same could be said on Thursday night. We went over for the Cmsac Conference Championship games. The first one was Rockcastle County defeating Cottle in the 7th grade game, and a lot of explosive plays on both teams there, but Rockcastle County able to pull away late and defeat the Cottle 7th grade team. In the 8th grade game, Clark Moore's kept it close for a while. Cottle eventually pulled away late in the game. But, again, you're looking ahead to some future Madison Central Indians and a lot of really good young players. Braden Thomas had 2 touchdowns for Cottle in that game. Their quarterback, Bentley, threw 1 in the game, and then that was in the 7th grade game. And then Jackson Pritchard had a fumble recovery for a touchdown in that game as well. And on the other side for Clark Moore's, Nathan Fogle, who was the quarterback, showed a lot of athletic ability for Clark Moore's, and Tavion Kirby, who was a fullback and also played some defense, showed some explosiveness as well. So a lot of guys I'm sure Mark Centers has been paying attention to that will be coming up to Madison Central next year. Now, Cottle won the 8th grade game. They were conference champions, but then they played on Saturday in the first round of the state tournament. They defeated Georgetown Middle 22-6. They will now play Lexcat at 10 a.m. on Saturday at Franklin County High School, and Georgetown Middle was the number 1 seed. So a really cool thing there for Cottle as they defeated Georgetown Middle, the number 1 seed, pretty easily, 22-6. Braden Thomas again had over 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Jackson Pritchard had a 40-yard touchdown run, and Jonathan Pope, the center, had a perfect game for Cottle. He played well against Clark Moore's too, but we've seen this Cottle football team. We know about the history there. Well, it's just another reload for A.J. Chandler in this program as they are once again looking to make a run for a possible state championship.
Now, those games are on the road, right? They're at Rockcastle County?
Well, with COVID and everything, I think it's kind of a week-to-week basis as to where they're going to be. The conference championship was at Rockcastle County. This past week's game was, I believe, in Georgetown. This game coming up on Saturday versus Lexington Catholic will be at Franklin County High School. So
hopefully they're allowing parents in.
I'm sure they are. At the middle school games Thursday night and even at the Berea game Tuesday, there were parents there. They were able to get in there and see their kids play. But what I really wanted to look at is just how the future is for these programs at Central and Southern and even over at Berea. So much good young talent coming up through the ranks. And, I mean, I was really impressed with Ethan Sloan from Berea, the wide receiver who, the quarterback for Berea kind of just, it was short. He couldn't really see over the offensive line. He's a good kid, had a good arm, but he had to kind of throw it up, and Sloan would somehow find a way, even if he had 2 guys on him, to make a good catch and do something with it. So Berea's Ethan Sloan, really good player. Paxton Hammonds from over at Foley. We had his dad on the sports show a couple of years ago. He was hired as the AD. Remember Robert Hammonds? Well, his dad, Paxton, or his son Paxton, had a great game for Foley. He's going to be a good player. So the future bright over there in Berea as well. But in Southern and Central, we're talking about their game coming up on Friday. These kids, they're going to be watching that game. Exactly.
That's what I thought too.
And I think that it's fun for them to kind of get out there and you see some of these. And I like doing that. Last year was the first chance we got to get out there. We got to see Kenyatta Hards and Hensley and Ryland Rhodes and some of those guys from Cottle who are now doing things already for Madison Central. So I was happy and excited to get out there and see some of these younger kids that we don't really get a chance to see at the middle school level.
For sure.
And now we see them in the next year. And the next year they just keep getting bigger and better, and eventually they make big plays for the high school team.
I know, it's pretty exciting. I got to watch a few plays. Like, I was actually watching. You did the games by yourself, didn't you? I was like, holy moly, you worked hard last week.
Well, one thing that with COVID, what we've learned is they want to limit the number of people. So
which is a lot of the reason why I don't
The fewer the people that we can send, the better off we are because, again, of the COVID restrictions.
Yeah, because I'd rather allow a parent get in to see their child than me take up a number of allowing.
Yeah, and I think it'll be that way for basketball, too. We'll get into that later on in the show, but I think that's one thing that we'll pay attention to is whenever we go out, if we do more than one game a week, we might just make one game be the game of the week, and then we might have a scaled-back broadcast for another game. Because from what I'm hearing over at Southern, I think their gym capacity is maybe 1,500, 2,000 people, depending on what they put out there as far as the bleachers and everything go. They're only going to be allowed like 80 people in the gym, and I think that includes us. So if we have 6 people, that takes 6 people out of the gym.
Right.
So we are really going to try to work with these schools as we get ready to cover some basketball games.
Typically, they both have the upper levels, but they are doing classes in the upper levels. So they are not removing those desks and then
it's a lot of work.
And
we talked to Jay last week on the show. We had him on after the volleyball game, and just how weird and how difficult it is to be an AD this year because you're not just showing up for the game, it's normal, and then you go home. You have
They're rescheduling games.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it right now. We've not had that issue in Madison County yet. Berea has had a couple of games, but Central and Southern have been lucky to where they haven't had any games canceled or postponed. But for Estill County, look at it. Estill County's had 4 games this year. They played McCreary County this week. But it's just been one of those years where as an AD or a principal or even as a superintendent, everything is not normal. And I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow we'll see something change with the election. But, I don't know if there's one side or the other that gets us in the clear of the coronavirus.
And everywhere's different, too.
Yeah,
because
when
we would go into Berea, they would check our Berea community. They would check our temperatures and that. But when we went to in Berea at Madison Southern, you had a questionnaire for the football team that you had to fill out. 4 questions. Doesn't bother me to fill it out, but it's all different.
Well, I think everybody has a way that they want to do it to keep themselves safe and to cover themselves. When I've been calling around to set up us going to do the game, I've had to give phone numbers and names for who's coming there for contact tracing. Exactly. If somebody was to come positive, then they want to know, okay, well, who were you around? Well, we got to know that info. So,
and the press boxes aren't gigantic.
No, exactly.
But we try to stay contained. Everyone tries to stay in their zone, in their area, and the windows are open for ventilation. So we're trying to be as safe as possible in the broadcast booth, at least.
Well, we appreciate all the hard work that those guys are doing. Robbie Cooksey, Jerry Bingham, over at Berea. Jay Simmons, who I've worked well with, and I love Jay. I have a great conversation with Jay all the time, talking to him and just aggravating him a little bit. And then you look over at Model with Mr. Sutton over there. So it's very weird year for these guys having to do what they are doing, but we appreciate all the hard work that they are doing to not only keep the kids and the players and the coaches safe, but doing extra work to make sure the fans are socially distanced and wearing their mask and everything else. It's just it is a very difficult year to be an AD.
And you know what? Jillian Tackett has been saying that from the get-go. Like, they were all worried pushing football back, high school football back, and he said from the get-go, I am more worried about basketball because it is a contact sport. Like they're going to do the coin toss at the very beginning of the game and, instead of the jump ball.
I will say this. I think playing football in the fall was the right decision.
Yes.
Okay, I think what we've seen with these cases spiking, I'm not sure how much of that has to do with football or sports being played. And as we get into the playoffs, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they do it because let's say that Madison Central and Southern are in the orange, okay? They're supposed to play a team that's in the red. Well, is that team in the red going to cancel? Like, are they going to have to forfeit because their county's in the red? Imagine a team like Bryan Station, who's had such a bad couple of years with their program, losing players to Frederick Douglass, and finally having such a good team, being the number 1 seed in the district. If Fayette County is in the red and Central says, you know what, we don't feel like it's safe to come up there and play you, well, does Station have to forfeit?
Right.
I mean, I think that's what the rule is. So we're going to have to get some clarification on that as we head into the playoffs here in a couple of weeks.
It could get very tricky.
It can.
And basketball's going to be more tricky.
Yeah.
Those are long schedules, and it's a lot more difficult to reschedule.
I think as basketball gets closer, if we don't see some dips in these cases between now and the end of November, basketball, I think, could be pushed back like we've seen with football. I wouldn't be shocked if they push basketball back to the beginning of the year 2021. If they push it back to the start of next year, hopefully have a better.
Wait. You mean January, or are you talking next August?
No, January. I think I wouldn't be shocked if they push basketball back to January of 2021. Delay it a couple of months. Kind of like what we saw with football.
Coaches might like that because if they're dual sport, like you got
a couple
kids
football,
playing like Kenyatta Harge that's playing football, and
Waller
playing
Smith,
basketball.
football and basketball. Yeah.
So,
I think that unless we see a dip in the cases, we're seeing 1,300 today, I believe. Last week was the biggest week as far as numbers go,
and
for
I heard
a
him say
week
today
total.
that it was the highest Monday since June 1st.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like the virus is something we're going to have to learn to live with.
Exactly, I feel the same way.
But
we're also testing more people.
We are, yeah. I mean,
my daughter's been tested 8 times.
Have you been tested yet?
I've never been tested.
I've not been tested
yet.
either. Yeah.
Because they say if you're not having COVID symptoms, you shouldn't get tested.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Well, that is true. But when you go to some of the because they're so far behind and backed up. But, I mean, she's having to get tested for dance teams and UK and sorority and different things. So.
Yeah. Well, here's what I feel like. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but if we don't see a dip in these cases very soon, I feel like basketball could be up in the air as far as when it starts. I think that even with the limitations on fans coming to the game, there's going to be some question marks as to how they do it. Now, I think the middle school seasons that we did some middle school girls basketball games.
Yes.
I think it was handled very well there because they were having some of those games, and even in the high school gyms where you can have more room and socially distance. But
middle school wasn't in session; they were all virtual.
Exactly.
At
Yeah.
the time.
So I mean, it's just there's a lot that's going into it right now, and again, I go back to my point. These ADs are having to work extra overtime and all this other stuff. So I don't envy them, but I appreciate all the hard work that those guys are doing. They take care of us.
Right.
We're always in constant communication with doing stuff with them. So.
And here's the other thing you're hoping, like these college campuses, they're getting out at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And they're not going back until after the first of the year.
Yeah.
It's not typical like they're going back right after Thanksgiving and then they're doing finals. That's not happening. So we're hoping people staying away from each other, at least the college campuses,
can help.
possibly could help.
Folks, we are live here at Jack Burford Chevrolet on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show. We'll take one more commercial break. When we come back, how about the cross-country team at Madison Central? Another successful year for them. And a Madison Central former football player has entered the transfer portal. We'll talk about that when we come back. We're live at Jack Burford Chevrolet on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show.
Still lots of room, just more to view. Still the big move, just more moving. Still singing, just more in tune. Still hard to find a spot, just easier to park. Still the gang's all here, just less are we there yet. The Chevy family of SUVs, making life's journey just better.
I'm Michelle. And I'm Jennifer, and in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Cupcadet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best margaritas and fajitas in town. Doesn't a huge 32-ounce ice-cold beer sound great? Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Patrick O'Neill has been serving Central and Eastern Kentucky since 1995. When someone is accused of something they didn't do, or when a good person makes a mistake, they need the best representation they can find. And that's Patrick O'Neill. Whether it's criminal defense, Social Security, disability, personal injury, workers' compensation, or deeds and wills, when you need legal advice, trust the expertise of Patrick O'Neill. He will get you the money you deserve. His office is located in Jackson, but Patrick practices all over Central and Eastern Kentucky. For more information or for a free consultation, call 606-666-2990.
Campus Warehouse is fresh out of quarantine and has everything you need to get back in the game. Now more than ever, it's important to show support for your favorite team. And Campus Warehouse has stylish Eastern Kentucky merchandise or something for the Kentucky fan in your life. As we continue to fight the coronavirus pandemic, Campus Warehouse also has the clothes you need to show you're a part of Team Kentucky. Like them on Facebook or stop in and see for yourself at Campus Warehouse, 2139 Lantern Ridge Drive, next to Buffalo Wild Wings in Richmond.
We're back on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show. Samantha Burford, Michael Watkins here with you on a Monday night, a cold Monday night in Richmond. It's getting darker earlier. And listen, we, again, are at Jack Burford Chevrolet. You see some of the new vehicles here on the lot, Samantha, and they're constantly changing. I don't know if they're selling these vehicles, but since we've been here, I've seen 4 or 5 people out there taking their pictures in front of a new vehicle that they bought. So congratulations to those folks getting the new vehicle here at Jack Burford Chevrolet. And again, if you want to check out their entire inventory, go to jackburford.com. Yes, ma'am.
Did you remember to change your clocks?
I do. I told you that I had, and my, most of my clocks now are all digital. So,
but do you not have the one on your microwave?
The stove and the microwave. I had to change. I actually had to change the stove today, because I walked by and I'm like, wait, it's 12:30 and it was like 11:30. I went home for lunch or whatever. So
you hadn't changed this yet. I was
you know what,
Samantha? If you got up and just was like, oh, I overslept.
No, I didn't do that. I did sleep in a little bit Sunday morning, but.
You need a dog. That won't happen. Well, you've got 2 young children. That
I got 2 dogs, too, outside. You know, when I grow up, I want to be Kiera O'Shea.
Yeah.
How fast is she? 3rd year in a row, you said, right?
3rd.
That's pretty impressive.
Region and state title.
Yeah, so I mean.
A three-peat.
A three-peat, and she's on what? Is she?
She's a sophomore.
Sophomore now. So, I mean, she's on pace to win 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And I don't see her slowing down. You would think as she got older and she got stronger that those legs are going to just go faster.
And I will tell you what that reminds me of is back to swimming. Morgan Lakes was a swimmer. She swam at UK, and she swam for Central. She won 5 straight regional titles, and it was amazing. Pretty crazy. And Kiera O'Shea can do the same thing.
Yeah.
They think 5 in a row.
She had 18:15.37 as her time in the finals, and she finished first again for the 3rd straight year in the state tournament. Jamie Google finishes 73rd for Madison Central, and over for the boys' side, Brady Masters finished 2nd with a time of 15:42.23.
And the week before, he just won region.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at the cross-country team at Madison Central. They've got a lot of speedsters over there. Marcus Hutchinson finished 27th for Madison Central with a time of 17:57.29. So, congratulations to those young students.
And here's what's even better is as a team, the girls finished 10th.
Yep.
10th in state. That's impressive.
Yeah.
There was a lot of runners. And then the boys finished 13th, not too far behind them.
Yeah. So
but you look at those times and you think, could you run that far in 18 minutes?
I can't drive that far in 18 minutes, I don't think. Maybe in the truck I can now. You know, it's a little faster, a little more
But the point is
durable.
we don't want to.
No. And I definitely couldn't. I go out there and play some pickup ball with my friends, and 3 times up and down the floor, I'm like, okay, what's the score? Is the game almost over? I'm ready to get my breather. Yeah. But it just goes to show you again that the student athletes here in Madison County we got some good ones.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Natuse is their coach, so very.
We've had him on the show before.
Yes.
Yeah, he's fun too. He's very knowledgeable and easy to talk to, and he knows a lot about soccer as well.
Oh yeah, he does. I want to thank Chris Reynolds. She was a parent that sent us those pictures and all the times, and very thankful that she was able to go because we were both very busy on Saturday.
Yeah, it's hard for us to get to everywhere.
No, we can't get everywhere.
You know, especially, listen, I go in early in the morning. I do the newscast. Get to go home a little bit. Then most of the time we got ball games to do.
Yeah.
And EKU has been off, so the Saturdays haven't been as busy, especially with all their road games. But they're coming back home this week. The Colonels will be back in action at home this week. So it'll be interesting as we have Again, basketball right around the corner. Football season's kind of winding down. The playoffs are about to start. We're hoping that we can have a deep playoff run from some of our local teams here on the football side.
And let's hope that we can move into basketball without any problems.
Well, we are going to take a commercial break, folks. When we come back, Blake Muntz was on the Madison Central team a couple of years ago that made that deep playoff run, won their first regional championship, and he was a very good player for the Indians football team. A lot of teams wanted him. He ended up at Western Illinois, but he announced over the weekend he was entering the transfer portal. So we'll talk about Blake Muntz, the former Madison Central tight end, and where he might end up when we come back on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show.
Still lots of room, just more to view. Still the big move, just more moving. Still singing, just more in tune. Still hard to find a spot, just easier to park. Still the gang's all here, just less are we there yet. The Chevy family of SUVs, making life's journey just better.
I'm Michelle. And I'm Jennifer, and in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Kokudet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop's Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best margaritas and fajitas in town. Doesn't a huge 32-ounce ice-cold beer sound great? Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Patrick O'Neill has been serving Central and Eastern Kentucky since 1995. When someone is accused of something they didn't do, or when a good person makes a mistake, they need the best representation they can find. And that's Patrick O'Neill. Whether it's criminal defense, Social Security, disability, personal injury, workers' compensation, or deeds and wills. When you need legal advice, trust the expertise of Patrick O'Neill. He will get you the money you deserve. His office is located in Jackson, but Patrick practices all over Central and Eastern Kentucky. For more information or for a free consultation, call 606-666-2990.
Campus Warehouse is fresh out of quarantine and has everything you need to get back in the game. Now more than ever, it's important to show support for your favorite team. And Campus Warehouse has stylish Eastern Kentucky merchandise or something for the Kentucky fan in your life. As we continue to fight the coronavirus pandemic, Campus Warehouse also has the clothes you need to show you're a part of Team Kentucky. Like them on Facebook or stop in and see for yourself at Campus Warehouse, 2139 Lantern Ridge Drive, next to Buffalo Wild Wings in Richmond.
Back here on the Jack Burford Chevrolet Sports Show, Samantha Burford, Michael Watkins here with you at Jack Burford Chevrolet. Again, folks, if you're looking around online, maybe trying to find the vehicle you want, make sure to visit jackburford.com to see the inventory here at Jack Burford Chevrolet. All kinds of new vehicles on the lot at Jack Burford Chevrolet.
They've made a new row over there.
Yeah,
for trucks.
When I pull over to pull in for the show, I was like, man, they got a lot of people here, but it's just new inventory they got.
It's new inventory. They've had to make a new row. So we're usually customers park on the side.
Samantha, 2 years ago when Madison Central had their best year in football, they won the regional championship. Blake Muntz had 22 catches, 232 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, which led the team that year, and was a really good defensive player too as well. They brought him and Derek Miller, who was the quarterback of that team, in on a little NASCAR package, and those two guys were the kind of blitzers off the end when they would kind of rush the quarterback. Blake also threw a pass that year as a senior at Madison Central, which was picked off. But anyways, he's a tight end. He's a great player.
I do remember
that. And, Blake is a big target as well. And he, over the weekend, put this on Twitter. First and foremost, I would like to thank God for giving me the ability to play the game of football. I would also like to thank the coaching staff at Western Illinois for giving me a chance to play at the next level and meeting some great friends along the way. With that being said, I have 4 to 5 years left of eligibility and will be entering the transfer portal. I look forward to this new chapter in my life and playing the game that I love. So Blake Muntz entering the transfer portal.
And we don't really officially know
why. With COVID and everything going on, I mean,
there could be a
you get an extra year of eligibility. You play this year, you still come back next year. So I think a lot of stuff going into that.
And
maybe
that's across the board, right?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. So that's going to be very important for these kids. And I think for Blake, I would love to see him in an EKU uniform. Come back home, and I think he'd be a great fit in the Waltwell system. They got a couple of big targets this year.
So you need
Blake
to forward that.
Oh, I've already tweeted it out.
Okay,
I want to see him in EKU. Now, I even tagged EKU football in it, who's going to be in home this week. We'll get to that game here in a few moments.
Good.
But also got a Twitter message from Tobias Storm, who is the quarterback over at center. He's only a freshman over there. Tobias said, Mike, I've already reached out to him. I want him to come to center. That'd be a great fit. Tobias played quarterback at Madison Southern, was a great athlete over there. So would be interesting to see a Tobias Storm touchdown to Blake Muntz. I'd like to see that. A Southern Eagle throwing it to a Central Indian up at center.
I remember Blake Muntz being so tall, too, which is unusual for some of them. I mean, you got your tall men that are playing football, but he's taller than most of them.
I think he's 6'6", 6'7", and he was very agile, too.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Blake would be a good fit anywhere in the right system. He's a good blocker, too, which is important at that level. You have to be a blocking tight end. You can't be just a catching tight end or a blocking tight end. You have to be able to do both if you want to see the field. And I think Blake can do that, again, in the right system. Would love to see him in the EKU uniform. Would love to see Tobias Storm and him connect on the touchdown over at center. So we'll pay close attention to that and see where Blake Muntz ends up transferring to again. He has entered the transfer portal and will be leaving Western Illinois, a great football player a couple of years ago at Madison Central.
So this is a question that I don't know anything about. Once you enter the portal, is there a possibility you ever go back?
I don't think so.
Happen?
I don't think that ever happens.
So when you enter, you're done.
Yeah, and one thing that we've seen, too, is
I don't know how that
the NCAA constantly changes their rules. I think that he could transfer and immediately play somewhere if he was to transfer somewhere. I think he could immediately play. Yeah, so that would be important, too.
There's never any going back.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there with Blake Muntz. Now, speaking of EKU football, the Colonels will be set to host Stephen F. Austin State University this Saturday, another home game for EKU. It is going to be Military Appreciation Game. It will kick off at 3 p.m. The game will be live on our sister radio station, our media partner over at 100.7 The Coyote. And the EKU band, which is always a pretty cool thing, they will be performing at the game following the end of the game.
And I think that's pretty special because with all the COVID rules and restrictions, I think that's something
we've seen the Central Band has been at the games, but they've not been their full band participants.
They're not sitting up in the
spread
stands.
Out.
They're spread out on the track, and they're not doing their performance at halftime.
Exactly. Which is a big deal for those kids not to be able to be out there on the field.
They didn't have a season at all.
Nope. And the state championship was canceled and everything. So you got to feel for those kids.
Conference championships, everything.
This is the first meeting between EKU and Stephen F. Austin, and the Colonels are 2-4 after a huge come-from-behind last-second win over the number 11 team in the nation in their last game, Central Arkansas, back on October 24th. Quarterback Dakota Allen, who came on to play late in the second quarter, led the Colonels on an 8-play, 77-yard game-winning scoring drive with just 1:21 left in the game against Central Arkansas, and the Colonels would go on to hold on and win that game.
Which is so exciting and very thankful that they got their due because the week before it was the opposite. They were the opposite of that win.
Yeah, they had to come from behind against them the week before.
Exactly.
Jacquez Jones caught 6 passes for 136 yards in EKU's win over Central Arkansas. That's an average of 23 yards per catch. In his last 2 games, newcomer Kamari Carey has 2 interceptions. He picked off a pass against Troy and also against Central Arkansas. The Colonels are averaging 33 points per game against their FCS opponents this year. So this Colonel football team is exciting to watch. They can score the ball, and it doesn't seem like whoever the quarterback is, whether it's McKinney, who was injured in the last game, or Dakota Allen.
So Dakota Allen came in off the bench.
Parker McKinney has been their starter. He's a great player in his own right. He's been around this team for a couple of years now, and Allen came in and picked up right where McKinney left off.
And played great. Yeah. He took his opportunity.
So it should be a fun night. Now, if you are thinking about going to the game, which I would suggest you do. This is a really good EKU football team, and their schedule is jam-packed. It's Military Appreciation Day, so keep that in mind as well. And it doesn't matter if you are a Colonel Club member, a student, a Colonel fan, or a fan of the opponent. There is plenty of information on the EKU Sports website about going to attend the games. Masks, obviously, are required throughout the entirety of the contest. Ushers will be monitoring masking throughout the contest. Anyone who refuses to wear their mask appropriately will be escorted from the venue. All patrons will be required to wear face masks when traveling through the parking lots and while socializing. No shuttle services from the parking lots to the stadium will be provided. And upon entry into Roy Kidd Stadium, fans and staff will be temperature screened using an infrared thermometer. And one thing that has been the biggest difference of all this is, again, no tailgating this year, which was a big loss for homecoming, which was the last game for EKU, and they beat Central Arkansas. No tailgating at football just doesn't seem right, Samantha.
It doesn't seem right. Because even some of the high schools, I know at Madison Southern, they have quite a few campers out there, people tailgating, and it's just kind of sad.
It is. It's part of the atmosphere. It's part of the game day experience. And with no tailgating, you don't get the chance to kind of hang out with your buddies before you go into the game. You don't get the chance to, on homecoming, kind of socialize and see people you haven't seen for 4 or 5 years. Or 20 years,
Yes.
So it's a good chance with homecoming to do all that. And again, with no tailgating last week and no tailgating at all this year anywhere, it's a big difference for football fans.
Yeah, and you would think it's outdoors, maybe people wearing masks, but chances are you're eating, possibly drinking Sprite or whatever you might be drinking.
Or your preferred adult beverage, whatever you want to drink.
Exactly. But, it's disappointing that we don't have it. So we're looking forward to next year. Hopefully we'll get back on track.
Folks, don't forget, if you haven't voted yet, get out and do your civic duty. Go vote. If you haven't done so, there's plenty of information. I'm going to do mine tomorrow.
You waited.
Yeah, I waited.
To the day of.
I'm a last-minute guy. I procrastinate a lot.
Well, I voted last Wednesday. Yeah. Only waited in line maybe 20 minutes. That's all. But now I have seen the WBON pictures. Yeah. The line is getting longer.
It is.
It was long today. It was long Saturday.
And there's, I think, 5 locations in Richmond to go vote tomorrow, 2 in Berea. So take advantage of that and go out and vote tomorrow. And listen, no matter who wins, let's try to get this coronavirus thing taken care of, and let's be civil to one another. Well, she is Samantha Burford.
Hey, and tell people to watch. They need to watch WBON.
Election results tomorrow at 6 p.m. right here on WBON TV. So if you are wanting to see really close attention to those local races, we'll have that information for you tomorrow at 6 p.m. here on WBON TV and on 100.7 The Coyote.
Yeah, they're going to have all the races, everything.
We'll have a breakdown, interviews with people, and everything else.
Marissa will be at the courthouse. It'll be exciting.
For our radio producer, Jaden Johnson, our TV producer, Austin Hanks, she is Samantha Burford, folks. I'm Michael Watkins. We'll be at election results tomorrow, and then on Friday night, high school football, the biggest game in the county, Madison Central, takes on Madison Southern. We will be there Friday night right here on WBON TV. Stay safe, wash your hands, social distance, and let's have a good night and a good week this week. And let's have some high school football on Friday night. We'll see you there from all of us here on WBON TV.